All right, everybody, welcome back to the Big Blue Dynasty series here on Madden 24. We are going to be focused on here on the bye week. This episode will be about how we're going to look at the roster, see if we're going to alter anything on our playbook as far as play calls are concerned, and maybe potentially look at some formation subs as well. So depending on how much time we have or what I think we need to change, we will focus on that. We may consider a negotiation in the contracts, but it'll have to be a probably bigger prospect or a bigger member on our team. I think the other parts of our of our players that are maybe on the back end or depth pieces, I won't be dealing with until the end of the year. So we'll use this as the bye week episode, make some changes. We are going to be looking at some trades today. So anytime I look at trading, I have to decide, am I a buyer or am I a seller? Knowing we are 3-3 right now, I have way more confidence in my team to be a buyer at this point. I think we're getting the right yardage as far as passing at times. I think we're just falling short in some areas that I think we can really improve on. So anytime I look towards being a buyer, I look at the bottom teams as players that they may end up having some tradable assets. I do not tend to go after and try to trade with the Packers or the Ravens or the Panthers or Bills in this scenario because they all have great records. Why would they be willing to send a piece away unless they were at that depth situation, right? So, or they weren't going to hold somebody, but I don't see that storyline outside of Brian Burns in the news saying they're not going to tag him, they're not going to extend him, so he's going to be a huge free agent for us for the off season. So I'm not necessarily looking at Brian Burns like trying to take these guys here because we're also 3-3. So I'm going to be focused on these teams in the back end. We'll be looking at the Falcons, Cardinals, Raiders, and Titans in the beginning, and then maybe we look at the Lions and the Bears. There's a couple 2-4 teams, so I'm going to really think about these aspects here. And depending on like a big need for us, I may look at one particular team, the Jacksonville Jaguars, as they have a right tackle available on the trade on the block. So maybe I do that, but I want to look at these other guys here, see what's available for them, and then let's make some choices. So for the Titans, I'm looking at some potential prospects here. One that comes to mind as somebody who I could maybe take a chance on and put here as like more of a depth piece is Malik Willis. If we were to trade for him, this is a guy that I don't know is going to be the future for us. He's got good speed on him. He'd be a nice backup, and it'd be competition between him and Tommy DeVito. But Malik Willis could be somebody that I could look at bringing in. I don't see myself trading with more than like maybe a 5th rounder for him, but that could be a thought. When you look at the Raiders, I'm looking at 2 prospects. The first one is Zamir White. He's got 2 years left on his contract, and what I like about him is he's young, he can help us on the running back crew, and I think he could be a decent 3rd down back, if not be a part of the power back situation. There is a combo here that I am looking at, and we'll talk through that in a second, but Zamir White is on my list as a possibility. Zamir White was a prospect that I liked coming out of the draft a couple of years back, and I think he could be a nice change of pace for us in the backfield. The other person I am looking at is Jack Jones. He also has 2 years left on his contract. But what I like about Jack Jones is that he could play in the slot, he could play on the outside, and he's got good play rec as well as catching. This is a kind of player here that could really help us out. Now, that toughness does worry me a little bit because if he gets injured, he gets injured for a very long time. But how I see Jack Jones is he'll be probably competing for the slot corner position between him and Flott, and that leaves room for us to maybe send back another corner for them, or there are some pieces we'll talk through in just a second. But Jack Jones and Zamir White are the 2 prospects I'm looking to get from the Raiders. For the Falcons, I'm looking at one prospect right now. He's on his last year of his contract, and that's Richie Grant. They brought in another strong safety that's overtaken that squad there, and I think Richie Grant could be a nice piece for the Giants. Pinnock is up for contract right now, and there's no guarantee that we'll be set in that space. Kevon Wallace as well, we got him for a short contract. So We could look at bringing in someone like Richie Grant. Good zone coverage, good speed, great awareness to start off, good hit power, and decent tackling. His toughness is there too, so I know this guy can potentially stay on the field. So we could boost up our DB group by leveraging someone like Richie Grant. For the Lions that are currently 2-4 right now, a player that intrigues me is Malcolm Rodriguez. He was on that Hard Knocks, and I don't know if we're going to be able to trade for him, as he looks like he's out with a shoulder strain, but I could see myself maybe going after him after the trade, after the bye week, if he's available. And he's got some decent capabilities here. He's still young. Got 2 years left on his contract. You know, if we decide not to re-sign Azeez Ojulari, him paired up with Edwin Cooper could be a nice little rotation there. So as far as the other prospect I was considering bringing in, it was Walker Little, who has 1 year left on his contract. He's currently on the block right now, and how I see Walker Little as is as a development piece. His lead block's pretty good. He's a good pass blocker from the get, and he's a scheme fit. How I view Walker Little is there's a chance he can compete. Now we do got Amar Gadeji on the team. I just have to figure out what we're gonna do with Evan Neal, and we'll talk through those stats in a second to see how Evan Neal has performed this year. But Walker Little is someone who I can consider potentially a splash. I'd be willing to give up maybe multiple mid-round picks, whether it be like a fourth this year, fourth next year, to try to bring in someone like Walker Little, or maybe even look at getting rid of a depth piece in order to bring him in. So Walker Little is someone that I could see being a consideration. Now Graham Glasgow is on the team for a year. We could consider trading Graham Glasgow to the Jaguars, and by doing that, we could move Evan Neal into the guard position. You know, we'll talk about his stats, like I said, in a second, because it has not been great so far this year. And move Walker Little to right tackle, and that can help solidify this O-line and will be a little younger heading into this offseason. Walker Little, to me, would be a very nice piece, but we'll see if that team also warrants a trade too. Sometimes players are on the block and they need those pieces, so we'll check out the Jaguars when the time comes. So this is a little bit of a mega trade, as we are looking at making some moves here. I like Zamir White as a change of pace back. I think he can really help us out in that space. Clyde Edwards-Helaire as well is good in that area, but I don't know if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the future for us. Having Zamir White with 2 more years on his contract gives me some room to maneuver and maybe think about some other pieces that we can spend money on to help out some key areas. Jack Jones also has 2 years left on his contract, and to me, what that tells me is that we have an opportunity to move him on the inside if we want to and compete with Cordell Flott, or can play on the outside on the rotation to help out Ines Rakestraw and Deontay Banks. The 2 veterans here that I think could be very good for the Raiders are Laken Tomlinson and Jacoby Brissett. He'll be competing with Jacoby will be competing against Aiden O'Donnell for quarterback position there. And as far as depth piece, he can help them out. He's a mentor. And you got Laken Tomlinson, who I think can help them from a rotation standpoint on the O-line. He's a good depth piece, but he wasn't the future for us. I figured sending Jamal Williams back to them helps them out, because then they don't have to worry about another running back. And I think that they have the cap space for him, so why the heck not? This is a big move. We're giving up a 4th round this year, a 5th round next year, and a 5th round the following year in 2027. This is a mega trade for us, but I think this is a good move as we get to improve 2 good areas for the future. So the deal is done. We improve our cap for the future, and we get some youth in here, but we are a player short, so we'll start thinking about what will we do next this upcoming trade. So another player I'm looking at bringing in, since we have a quarterback spot open, is Malik Willis. I think this could be a guy that can help out with some more youth in the backfield, right? I think Daniel Jones is the guy for now, but if we have some pieces like Malik Willis there and Tommy DeVito, we have an opportunity to see if we can move forward. He's a 64 overall, so I'm not trying to give him too many picks. I'd probably sprinkle some late round picks, and I think a 7th round this year and a 6th round next year is more than fair. So the deal is done. We have Malik Willis now, 3 quarterbacks on the roster, and I think this is a good start and a good foundation for this team for the future. We'll see who competes and who makes it work. So rather than doing a player swap, kind of looking at what we're doing here, I think Rasheem Green and 2 7s are possible. These are 2027 7s, so they're not as crazy value, but you never know. We're giving up late round picks to bring in some other, some value in some of these players that I feel are undervalued. So I say, why not? We send Rasheem Green, who's only on a contract for us for 1 year, over to the Jaguars, who they only have Walker Little for 1 more year. And we'll see. Maybe these players are worth the effort. I hope so. We give up some space here, and I think this is going to help us out. But still, $8.93 million in cap space is very good for us, as we can kind of fill out the rest of this roster. So the deal is done there, and I think this is pretty good. I think we got all the guys that we need, but there's definitely some things to think about now that we're going to have to look through in this free agency. So we're going to make a little bit of a change here. We're going to bring in Khalid Duke from our practice squad, sign him to help, with some more depth on the D-line. And with that happening, we're going to go ahead and move Darius Rush over to the practice squad. That could leave room for him to get taken, but I think we have to try and allow the rest of our pieces to work here. Jack Jones and Cordell Flott with Trey Hawkins. I think that's a good group there, and that's going to be a nice situation here. So this bye week was very busy. We did a couple different things here. Darius Rush goes back to the practice squad as we bring in a right end in Khalid Duke, give him a chance to help in the rotation because of the following things that we just did with the Jaguars. We sent Rasheem Green over to the Jaguars along with future 7th round, 2027 7th round picks for Walker Little, a right tackle. So I figured, let's get some defensive end help. Then I went ahead and traded with the Titans to grab Malik Willis. All we sent over was a future 6th and a 7th round pick this year to get him. And that is because we went ahead and sent Jacoby Brissett, Laken Tomlinson, and Jamal Williams to the Raiders along with a future 5th round this year and a 4th round this year, a 5th round next year, and a 2027 5th round pick for 2 prospects that I believe in Jack Jones and Zamir White. So I think those are good decisions there. I think they help us out, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how this will go for us. So there are 2 players right now midway through the year that I'm interested in signing or negotiating with up front. AJ Epinesa, he's a 1-year fill-in. He's only asking for a 1-year deal. So far, Epinesa has 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, and 8 tackles. That's not bad, considering he's only played 199 plays. So he's on track for probably about maybe another 16 tackles or so, but he stuffs the run, man, and he allows other people to go at it. So I like how he plays. I just don't know, 1-year deal isn't that bad. When you look at Azeez Ojulari, his stats kind of show up, and I think it has a lot to do with just being alongside Kayvon Thibodeau in some packages, or AJ Epinesa on the opposite side. So 19 tackles so far for him this year, 11 tackles for loss, and 5 sacks. When you see that type of gameplay there, he's looking at about maybe $5 million a year for 3 years. I think that's a fair deal for us. We get a guy that could be there for as much as he can, because we do got Edwin Cooper. I think what I could do with Edwin Cooper, if necessary, is move him into the interior linebacker position so him and Okereke can start building up more rapport as they play together in the sub linebacker position, and then we keep all our guys on the field at the same time. If something were to happen to Azeez Ojulari, though, I think Edward Cooper could play to the outside and still be okay. So we got versatility in the linebacker position there, which I think could really help us out. Azeez Ojulari's having a pretty good game, and he's giving us a little bit of a discount. I think this is an offer I am willing to go for here. That gives us about, I'm willing to give him 5.5 a year. I think that's fair. That gives us about 36.2 million entering this upcoming free agency. So Azeez Ojulari accepts the deal, and I think this helps us out for the future. Knowing that AJ Epinesa is asking for a 1-year deal, we're going to go ahead and wait on that. But that's a good decision to make. We get a guy that we can lock in for a very cheap price, $5.5 million a year for an outside linebacker that's already got 5 sacks for the year. I think that's going to be a nice piece for the future. So we did a couple different things here. I'm wondering next what we will look at doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to advance to the next week. And the reason why I'm doing that is there's one more player I'm trying to go for, and it's Malcolm Rodriguez on the Lions. He's currently injured, so I don't think we can trade for him now. But let me see. Let me see if we can do that here. This is a little bit of a risk here. But Darian Beavers has had a good start so far for the Giants after being injured the last 2 years, or being injured the first year, recovering on the second year, and not really in his form. And now where he's at, he's just more of a depth guy. I think with Malcolm Rodriguez on the team, we now have a rotation that we can potentially build. You're talking about Malcolm Rodriguez, Edgerrin Cooper, Kayvon Thibodeau, Edgerrin Cooper. So you're talking about Edgerrin Cooper, Malcolm Rodriguez, and Azeez Ojulari. I think that helps us out with Kayvon Thibodeau. We got some guys that we can really, form a bond, and I think we can get them going. Malcolm Rodriguez plays pretty good in special teams too, so I think this is a fair deal. We give him a 5th-round pick. He is leaving. They're 2-4, so we're buyers. Darian Beavers may be able to find some luck over in Detroit. That is the last deal. So Rodriguez is out this week. He's already, we're in the bye week, so that's not a big deal. But that is a great acquisition right there for us. We give up a 5th-round pick, which is tough, but I think, if they need a change in scenery, I say why the heck not. I'm liking this so far. So we will advance to week number 8. But we made all the right moves, in my opinion. Darian Beavers and a 5th-round pick from Malcolm Rodriguez, who can play special teams, be a part of the rotation with our outside linebackers. Azeez Ojulari gets an extension, a 3-year deal for $16.5 million. Darius Rush goes back to the practice squad. In return, we get Khalid Duke some opportunity off the practice squad to, we'll see what he can do in the rotation. We send 2 7th-round picks and Rasheem Green for Walker Little. So we get a right tackle prospect who knows, could get some work done and maybe be beneficial for us. We sent a 6th and a 7th-round pick over to the Titans for Malik Willis. Sent a 4th this year, a 5th next year, and a 5th in 2027, along with Jacoby Brissett, Laken Tomlinson, and Jamal Williams for Jack Jones and Zamir White. So we kind of went nuts. But this is the year, right, where we make or break at certain points. If Dable ain't it, we're gonna feel it right now. So I'm hoping we make the right moves. I'm hoping we did the right things here, but it's gonna be rough. It could be some hesitations, but it could feel like a hesitation, but I think we're gonna be okay. Looking forward to playing in the next game. So as we enter into week number 8, our team looks a little different. From an injury standpoint, it's nice to see Darnell Mooney back in the loop here. Interested to see how he's going to continue to contribute, as he was on fire until he got hurt. We're going to see Zamir White get involved in the power back position. We'll talk through that in a second. But this O-line is going to stay put for just a little bit longer. Evan Neal so far this year has given up 4 sacks. It's been every other game pretty much. In week number 1, he gave up 2, didn't give up any against the Eagles, 1 against the Falcons, none against the Cowboys, 1 against the Browns, and then none against the Panthers. So he's spotty at best, but 4 sacks already for the year. I'm going to pay attention to that. With Walker Little on the back end waiting, there's a chance that we can make that move sooner than later. The defensive side now has a little bit more rotation. We're talking about Malcolm Rodriguez on one end, Edgerrin Cooper on the other. backing up Azeez Ojulari and Kayvon Thibodeau. The defensive line, lost a little bit of a pep with Rasheem Green gone, but I think the whole point of bringing over Joseph Asai in a trade was to have him play. So now it's time to unleash him, and let's see if we can get it going. The corner group receives an upgrade with Jack Jones. I'm pumped to see how this guy plays in the interior, and I'm hoping it'll be a great success for us. For now, Cordell Flott will be playing the starting slot position, but Jack Jones is right behind him, and there's a chance that he may overtake him based on the value that we just traded. But I think Cordell Flott can be a nice piece for us as well. We just got to see who's going to take it on, and there's never anything wrong with having 4 good corners versus just only 3. The defensive package, I'm pretty excited to see what happens here, as Edwin Cooper has earned his spot to play in the rush package. So we're going to get a chance to see him going out there with Kayvon Thibodeau in this spot. Check. Actually, Joseph Asai is going to actually start because Edwin Cooper is playing a sub linebacker position. So if Cooper plays here, he can't play here. So I just made the adjustment. Azeez Ojulari is going to be in the rush packages, and the reason why is because Edwin Cooper's playing the interior. He's playing sub linebacker position. So I want all my guys on the field. Asai is going to be backing up Azeez. AJ Epinesa is going to be backing up Kayvon Thibodeau. So I think we got a good rotation in those rush packages with needed. But this is going to be fun. As I stated earlier, you're going to see Zamir White playing in the power back position to give Saquon a little rest. And I think this is going to be a nice group right there. I think this trio can work out. Wan'Dale Robinson hasn't given up his spot yet. But although we did our trades right there at the bye week, there's still one more potential guy I am considering trading. And that is Isaiah Hodgins. Hodgins we signed for a cheap deal. He's got 2 years on his contract, but he only costs us $2 million in bonus money, in dead cap. So if we were to trade him, we split that $1 million for this year, next year, and we could potentially move on if we want to and allow some of these other guys on here to get it going. Well, that could be something we do if we feel there's another piece we want to go for. I think we've done already, though, a lot of trades. So I don't necessarily want to go off any further at this point if I can hold off on it. But that'll do it for us today, everybody. That was our bye-week episode. A lot done, more back-end stuff, more back office things, transactions, roster construction. But that's the stuff I honestly enjoy. There is something I am cooking up on my end for the future, which will involve 2 different types of games. To try to see if I can really build out the type of realistic scenarios that are possible within Madden, but leveraging another system to kind of work through the activities on it. So it's going to be kind of neat to how I mix it up, but I like that realism there for the coaching series, and for Giant series that might be something we leverage as well. But we're 3-3 going against the 2-4 Buccaneers next game. I think we can do it. We're just gonna have to work through it. Until next time, everybody, if you like what you saw, please drop a like, leave a comment, tell me what you think, and most importantly, subscribe to keep up with this series. And as always, let's go Big Blue.